welcome back. I'm Mary Jo, also known as Sojo, and this is my channel where I talk about all my quilty stitchy things. And today is my weekly update number 71, and it is July 28th, 2024. So I didn't do a weekly update last week. It's just life got busy, but we're going to do one now. So it has been 2 weeks since my last weekly update, but since then I've managed to cut out another quilt. I put a binding on a quilt. I've worked on a few other quilts. I finished all of my monthly Country Cottage Needlework Sampler of the Month. I finished all 12 of those, finished stitching. I did fully finish 3 of them, so I still have my November and December to do. I've made a few socks, and I started a new diamond painting. And well, let's just talk about everything I've done. So, let's see. Let me show you the binding on the quilt I just finished. So this is the quilt that I finished the binding on. Now this is a disappearing pinwheel quilt. I know it was from a tutorial from Missouri Star. Now they have several tutorials with disappearing pinwheels. I don't remember what this one was, but it's from there some time ago. I do know that this quilt top was actually made several years ago, and then I got around to quilting it and I just got the binding on. So we'll go in and take a look at everything. Now the binding is the same fabric that was used in the border. And the quilting pattern is a paisley pantograph that I had used because there's paisleys in some of those fabrics. Just working our way down here. Some of those paisleys are poking out there. And then we'll get the corner over and take a look at the label. And there's a little look at the paisleys popping up on the back. And then down here is the label. Now I am starting to work on another disappearing pinwheel. This is the disappearing pinwheel illusion from Missouri Star Quilt Company. Now I've just done some test blocks, and this is going to be part of my next What Will You Make series. So this is just started with the pinwheel, and it will end up into this block. So that's going to be part of my next What Will You Make series. Now, or what will I make? And using a layer cake. So what else did I work on? Well, the last time I did a weekly update, I said I had pulled this quilt project that I was working on making. Well, now I've pulled it all out, and I've cut everything, and I've got things pinned together, but there really isn't a lot of progress because, like I said, I just cut it apart and got some things pinned together. There's like the center panel, got that strip pinned down, and I've got like some other half square triangles and things pinned. So that whole quilt is cut apart, ready to start working on. So I've done that. And let's see. Then I've started working on this Creative Notions subscription box from a while ago. This is the Star and the Star pattern. Now, Creative Notions box I no longer get. I used to. But I've got several different things that I'm working on here. Let's see. We've got some half square triangles we're working on. All through there. Looking on some stitch and flip blocks that we're adding some corners on. And let's see. I've got a bunch of half square triangles that were pieced together, and I'm starting to make them into some rows. So there's not a lot of progress on that one yet either, but we're working on it. Then I'm also working on another Creative Notions subscription project. And let's see if I can find the big pattern here, and I'll show you that. Oh goodness. It is here somewhere. This is the Home is Where the Heart Is pattern. Now I've got all these rows sewn together, and I've started to add some sashing on each of those rows. So we'll look at that. So this quilt is all pinned together except for this bottom row because I needed to add this on before I could add the heart. And there's all my pins going through the back. But let me hold it up here. And then this will be the bottom row. So that sashing's right there. I have to sew that sashing on. And then this heart will then be added to the other side. And then that's all the border that will go around it. So that is where I am on that. If I can see, this was the December 2021 box. So that's been a while ago. So this pattern I showed just a minute ago. This is the January 2022 pattern. So I'm about 2.5 years behind on those. But that's okay because I think I quit with like the July 2024, I think. Not July 2024, July 2023. That's what it was. Okay, then what else did I work on? I worked on some sew sampler projects. So this is the Magnolia quilt pattern. Now this pattern is for a table runner, but I prefer not to do table runners. I prefer to do actual quilts, and there is a quilt on the back, an alternate pattern right here. So this is what I'm doing. Now it did say you needed another jelly roll. I didn't. I managed to get all this cut off with just one of the junior jelly rolls. That's some background. So now these are assembled in long rows. So I have 3 of these long rows here that are just kind of pinned together down. So it's like the 3 table runners put together. 3 or 4, I don't remember how many. There we go, and this is just pinned. See, there's all some of my pins here. Let me see. Some of my pins, more pins. And let's see. How many rows? Yes. And there are basically 3 long table runners just put together for a quilt top. So I have all 3 of those pinned, ready to sew. So that's where I am with that one. And then I also worked on this Sew Sampler Swallows quilt pattern. And let me show you where I am on all these birds. This is where I am. So I have this portion pinned together. I have this, and then there's a top portion let's see here if I can find the top portion. So that goes on like this. Oops, it's not the same fabric, but you get the point. It'll go on, I think, like that. Yep. Sorry, it's hard to get a hold of. Now, obviously, it'll be the same fabric. I just pulled this one out. To make all of those. So that's where I am on that. And I have more. So I also worked on this foundation paper piecing pattern. It's one of those foundation paper piecing pads from Fat Quarter Shop. It's another sew sampler. This is the wipeout pattern. Now I'd already had 4 of these blocks done. I just had them pinned together. So I sewed them together in a row and I worked on 4 more pads. So here is that very top row. This is what it looks like. And yes, I still have my papers on. And then I made 4 more blocks, which, there they are. And I just have them pinned. Now, I made a boo-boo in this one, but it's okay. So, when I was trimming, I didn't have my fabric pulled all the way back, ended up cutting it off. So, I had to add some extra fabrics. So, I've got a few more seams there, but that's okay because once it's all in a quilt, when we back up, you're not going to notice those quilts, especially after it's quilted. Those little seams there. But we all make boo-boos, and that's how I fix mine. All right, let's see what else I've got. Now, like I said, this is for 2 weeks, not my usual week. I worked on another project, and this was a Jolly Bar. Now, a Jolly Bar is a pre-cut fabric exclusive to Fat Quarter Shop. That's it's a 5 by 10 inch cut, so it's like half a layer cake. And this is the Strawberry Lemonade collection from Sherry and Chelsea. And this was a pattern that came with it because all the Jolly Bars comes with a free pattern. I didn't want to do this pattern, so I picked out another pattern from one of the Jolly Bar books that Fat Quarter Shop puts out from It's So Emma. And this is the Shoe Fly Pie Quilt. So here is what the pattern looks like. And I'll show you where I'm at. So I've got all the individual blocks made. I'm just working on putting some sashing and sashings in between them. So here's like the first row. That sashing right there, it's just pinned together. It's not sewn. So that's what I'll be doing the next time. Is just sewing those sashings between each. That is the first row. Here is my second row. Now, I did find out that they are reprinting this line of fabric, which I'm happy about because this line of fabric has a cheetah print that I want to get for the back of this. So hopefully I can get some of it before it all sells out. When it comes out, because I don't think it's coming out again until September, I think is what it said. All right, so those are all 3 of my rows. And I've got 2 more projects to show you. Well, quilt projects anyway. I also worked on this Daydreamer pattern, and this is again from another Sew Sampler box. I am almost done with this. I just have to add the border. So I've got the side borders pinned on. I'll show you that. So after I sew down that side border, I'll add that top and bottom border, and this one will be done. Like I said, this is that side border I still have to sew down. And that's where I am on that one. And one other project, quilting project, I'll show you. And this is this pattern. What is this? Blocky block. This is this blocky block pattern. Now what this is a pattern that I got over from Polar Fabrics in Indiana, and it is a kit that comes with 5 1-yard bundles of fabric that you pick out the bundle you want, and then you get to pick out a pattern. This was the pattern I picked out. And here's where I am in that. So this is my center of this blocky block pattern. I still have to add borders. Well, I still have to sew this because there's my pins. And then add an inner and outer border. So here's where we are on this. And then this will be an inner border. I got threads in my hair now. That's okay. This will be the outer border. And the binding. Okay, so that is all of the quilt projects I've worked on the last 2 weeks. Excuse me, I had a little bit of a coughing fit there. I guess some of those quilt fibers I breathed in. And then I had a phone call. But that's okay. Where was that? Let's talk about cross stitch. So my cross stitch, I finished stitching all of my Country Cottage Needlework Samplers of the Month. My November and December, I finished cross stitching those, and I also fully finished my August, September, and October cross stitch. So let me show you. There's my August. Here's my September. And I will put them in my easel finish here in a minute. And there's my October. So, gonna take out my July. Put my August right in there. And then I can flip it over. Hold on. There we go. Because this does come out. Let's put my September right there. And again, there's magnets and washers on the back to make them flip interchangeable. And there's my September, and then I can take my September out and put my October. There's my October. So I'll just go ahead and put my July back on since it's still July for a couple more days anyway. So there's my July, and then my August is on the back. Now for the actual stitching for my November. That was the November Country Cottage Needlework Sampler of the Month. And this is what my November is looking like. Got the pilgrims and the turkeys. And then we have my December. This is what the Decembers look like. And here it is. And we've got gingerbread and Santa and Mrs. Claus there. So now I just have to finish that like these, so that can all interchange on my easel. Excuse me, I was going to start coughing there again. All right, now what did I do in crochet? Well, the last time I talked to you on my weekly update, I had been working on this sock here. Now this is part of a subscription box I used to get called Hooked on Socks from Co. And I had finished one pair of these, which were these socks. Now, I can usually get 2 pair of socks out from the medium socks that I crochet. Now, I do have to usually modify like the mini skeins. There's usually not enough to get 2 with the mini skeins, but then I can just use the main collar for like the toe or the heel or whatever. So, I was working on my second pair, and this is what I did. I had enough for the toe on both of these other socks. And I knew I didn't have enough to do both heels, so I put a stripe here in this first sock. And then we get to my crazy sock. I didn't have enough yarn for anything. So this is how this ended up. I got the toe, and then we ended up doing this, and then I just used what I had to make. And then I had to go into my scrap yarn to finish the sock out with this sock weight yarn. So it's kind of a crazy sock, but that's okay. You know, these socks are just for me. I like wearing these socks, especially once it starts getting cooler, and it doesn't matter if they're not exactly matching. They'll serve the purpose. But it's just, I just got a crazy sock. So I worked on that. Then I got on to my last subscription box from Hooked on Socks that I have. Now they no longer do this subscription. And this was the Hawaii volcano socks, yoga socks. Now when you look at these socks, I don't know if it's because they're yoga socks, I'm not familiar with this, but they don't have a toe and they don't have a heel. And in my opinion, I don't know what's the point of crocheting a sock if you don't have a toe and a heel. Because I wear crocheted socks because my feet get cold, especially my toes. So I went ahead and used this pattern to make socks, but I added a toe and a heel. And here is what my socks look like. So I made one pair. There's the one sock. There's the other sock. So, like I said, I can usually get 2 pair of socks out. I just usually have to change what I use for the mini skein because this solid orange was the mini skein. So, and I made this sock, modified it a little bit, just used that main color for the toe and the heel, and then I just added that orange there for just a little cuff. Now, I also made these a little bit shorter too than what that other sock is. So, there was the one sock. And there is the other sock. So I was able to get 2 pair out of those. So that's it for my crocheted sock subscription boxes. But that's okay. I still have lots of sock yarn that I have accumulated that I can make other socks using sock patterns I already have. Not to mention all the other sweaters and blankets and other things that I can make. Okay. So, then we go to diamond painting. I started a new diamond painting, and it is a big one. Let me show you. So here is the picture of what this is. This is Sledding to Town, and this is legally licensed as the Chuck Pinson painting. So, let me show you where I am. This is where I am so far. Just this first row, and yes, this is a big one. Let me kind of... That's how big it will be. There's my face. Just a little bit of perspective. So that's what I'm working on. So this is definitely a more wintry Christmas type scene. But that's okay. I tend to like to work on the wintry ones in the summer and the more summer ones in the winter. Kind of helps to create that illusion that you're hotter or colder than what you really are, I guess. Okay, so I did get a question this week about asking if I like fat quarters. And yes, I do like fat quarters. But as far as my favorite pre-cut goes, my favorite pre-cut is layer cakes. Let me know in the comments down below, what kind of pre-cuts is your favorite? Now, I prefer layer cakes over than like a fat quarter bundle simply because they're cheaper. And in a layer cake, you kind of get, you know, one of every line in the collection, and depending on how amazing the collection, sometimes you may get 2 or 3 prints. But if you get that same fat quarter bundle, it's significantly more. So I just prefer the layer cakes simply because they're cheaper. I usually go layer cakes is my top, fat quarter bundles depending on the price, and then I'll go to jelly rolls. Then after jelly rolls, my next pre-cut of choice would be a charm bag. And then it's probably fat 8s, which I really don't like, but I will use. And the reason I don't like fat 8s is just because I just want more fabric. I just think they're kind of small for what I like, but that's okay. And then my least favorite pre-cut is probably the honey bun, which is only a 1.5 inch strip of fabric roll. But that's just what I prefer. Let me know in the comments what kind of pre-cuts you like. I do think fat quarters are very versatile, and I do like them. Like I said, it's just the price for me. I really do try to find what I can for the cheapest amount of money, and layer cakes are usually cheaper. But it also depends on your project, because sometimes a layer cake just isn't going to work, and you do need to buy a fat quarter bundle, and sometimes you just need the yardage. All right, till next time. Bye.